Donald Trump has just nominated Matt Gaetz, the controversial Florida congressman who's currently under investigation by the House Ethics Committee for sexual misconduct, to be his attorney general in the second Trump administration. Yikes. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. Damn, it's been one genuinely terrible cabinet nominee after another, and this one might be the worst so far. I mean, I thought we jumped the shark when he nominated a Fox News host to be his Secretary of Defense. Well, now he's turning to Matt Gaetz. So here's the statement. Donald Trump says, "It's my great honor to announce that Congressman Matt Gaetz of Florida is hereby nominated to be the Attorney General of the United States. Matt is a deeply gifted and tenacious attorney trained at the William and Mary College of Law, who's distinguished himself in Congress for a few reasons. We'll get into that. Through his focus on achieving desperately needed reform at the Department of Justice. Few issues in America are more important than ending the partisan weaponization of our justice system. Matt will end weaponized government, protect our borders, dismantle criminal organization, and restore Americans' badly shattered faith and confidence in the Justice Department. On the House Judiciary Committee, which performs oversight of the DOJ, Matt played a key role in defeating the Russia hoax and exposing alarming and systemic government corruption and weaponization. He is a champion for the Constitution and the rule of law. Matt will root out the systemic corruption at the DOJ and return the department to its true mission of fighting crime and upholding our democracy and Constitution. We must have honesty, integrity, and transparency at the DOJ. Under Matt's leadership, all Americans will be proud of the Department of Justice once again." To which Congressman Gaetz responded, "It will be an honor to serve as President Trump's Attorney General." Yikes. Let's get into initial reaction from this. Trump's announcement came as House Republicans were meeting behind closed doors to hold their leadership elections. Lawmakers expressed surprise as they trickled out of their conference meeting and learned of this election. Quote, "I got really no good comment," end quote, said Republican Don Bacon of Nebraska. Oklahoma Representative Tom Cole, chair of the House Appropriations, told reporters, quote, "I know nothing about it. The story is breaking and will be updated." Yeah. Wow. I'm going to play a clip from former Speaker of the House and former Republican Congressman from California, Kevin McCarthy. He has said many things about Matt Gaetz, but this was one of the most viral comments made after Speaker McCarthy left Congress.
And I'll give you the truth why I'm not Speaker. It's because one person, a member of Congress, wanted me to stop an ethics complaint because he slept with a 17-year-old. An ethics complaint that started before I ever became Speaker, and that's illegal, and I'm not going to get in the middle. And I'll give you the truth why I'm not.
That was Matt Gaetz that he was talking about. Yeah. So let's get into it. CNBC is talking about this. Trump said he will nominate Matt Gaetz of Florida to serve as the U.S. Attorney General. If confirmed by the Senate, Gaetz will succeed Attorney General Merrick Garland. Gaetz remains the subject of an ongoing House Ethics Committee investigation into whether he engaged in sexual misconduct or illicit drug use. Let's go on to this. If confirmed by the Senate, Gaetz will succeed Attorney General Merrick Garland, who led the Justice Department as it carried out a sex trafficking investigation into Matt Gaetz. The DOJ ultimately declined to charge Gaetz. Gaetz remains the subject of an ongoing Ethics Committee investigation into whether he engaged in sexual misconduct or illicit drug use. Gaetz, who's denied any wrongdoing, said in September that he would no longer voluntarily participate in that panel's probe. The 42-year-old lawmaker, who has carved out a reputation as a staunch and vocal Trump loyalist, has aggressively criticized the DOJ investigation and prosecution of Trump by special counsel Jack Smith. In October 2023, Gaetz filed the original motion to oust then-Speaker Kevin McCarthy, his fellow Republican. A band of 8 Republicans led by Gaetz would ultimately join with all House Democrats in removing McCarthy as Speaker, plunging the GOP conference into chaos. Gaetz was traveling with Trump, billionaire Elon Musk, and others on Wednesday during the president-elect's first trip to Washington, D.C. since defeating Vice President Kamala Harris. So yeah, that's where we are. Matt Gaetz, potential Attorney General of the United States. Again, worth mentioning here, just a couple of things. So, according to Donald Trump, few issues in America are more important than ending the partisan weaponization of our justice system. I will remind you, as we've discussed ad nauseum, that when Donald Trump was the president of the United States, he repeatedly, publicly and privately, targeted his critics and political opponents for prosecution. And the Department of Justice tried to follow the president's agenda when Trump was president of the United States. John Kerry was investigated. Hillary Clinton was investigated. Comey, Jim Comey, the former leader of the FBI, was investigated. Now, in many of these instances, charges could not be brought because it turns out that many of Trump's political opponents and critics are not like him and they haven't committed crimes. But the DOJ tried to prosecute Trump's political opponents to the extent that the law permitted them to do so. The fact that he was unsuccessful meant that when push came to shove, the people at the Justice Department were like, damn, boss, we tried, but they didn't commit crimes. And if they didn't commit crimes, we can't prosecute them. Donald Trump is the embodiment of a weaponized justice system. And that was with guardrails in place during his first administration. That was with people like Attorney General Jeff Sessions, Attorney General William Barr, keeping him somewhat in check. And Trump, he bristled at the restraint. And the whole point of a second Trump administration is to have people like Matt Gaetz in place who won't tell him no. That's the difference. So when people say, okay, sure, Trump tried to weaponize the justice system against his opponents, but he wasn't successful. It's like, yeah, he's gone on the record saying he's not going to have people like Bill Barr, Jeff Sessions in place next time. He's going to have sycophants like Matt Gaetz in place. That's a meaningful difference. That's why you can't just defer to the previous Trump administration as proof that the second Trump administration can't be as bad as we think it is. This is a solid step in the direction of making it just as bad as we thought it would be. I'll also point out that, Trump talks about, upholding our democracy and constitution. It was Donald Trump who publicly in 2022 advocated for the termination of the Constitution in order to eject President Biden from the White House. Because remember, at that point, President Biden had already been inaugurated and was serving as president. Trump publicly called, even if you have to terminate the articles of the Constitution that are relevant to this, terminate them and put me back in the White House. And now Donald Trump is pitching himself and his MAGA supporters as champions of the very document that they wanted to shred for their own political expedience? Really? Their shamelessness is their superpower. It's staggering. And again, I just want to make this clear. People say, well, Matt Gaetz isn't particularly popular. And it sounds like at least some people in Congress are not happy about this election. But the question is, what do they do with that? Marco Rubio, we played this clip. Marco Rubio's gone on the record saying Donald Trump, in his estimation, won a mandate. And that's how the Republicans in the Senate are interpreting it. If that's the case, why on earth would we believe that they would check Trump? Marco Rubio said it. He's like, Republicans are going to be deferential. They're going to defer immensely to Donald Trump once he takes the levers of power. So to people who say, Matt Gaetz is Attorney General, that's out of the question, Republicans will stop it. Why on earth would we believe that? This is where we are. A Fox News host as Secretary of Defense, Tulsi Gabbard as the Director of National Intelligence, Tom Homan as Border Czar. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, unironically, the most sane of these selections. Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk running the Department of Accountability or Efficiency, the Department of Governmental Efficiency, DOGE. Because, of course, they have to traffic in memes. This is where we are. This is where we are. Stunning stuff. Who's going to be the Secretary of Treasury? Probably a famous embezzler. Elections have consequences. So, yes, it is very, very possible, unless Donald Trump has a flight of fancy or somebody distracts him or talks him out of it, that Matt Gaetz on January 20th, 2021 will become the highest ranking chief law enforcement officer of the United States, commanding the full power of the Department of Justice for his cult leader, Donald Trump. And that should be very harrowing for every other American in the country. But again, elections have consequences. Let me know what you think in the comments.